So recently I've played and finished Resident Evil 8, and for some reasons I thought it was a good idea to record myself playing the game. So let me see how much space does it take. Well, shit, that's a lot. So with over 100 gigabytes, I have to do something with this recording. I don't know what, so this spinning wheel will decide for me. Wow, that's a great idea! A review for a 1-year-old game? That's very original, I guess. Yeah, okay, I'm not going to contest your choice, so be it. So you have a set of notes, and I will go through each one of them. So let's start with the story. So the story, Shit, what was the story again? Oh yeah, I remember. So we incarnate Chris Redfield, the boulder punching man.
The boulder punching asshole!
And his mission is to liberate the citizens of an isolated village from communism. I will not share my property with you, you filthy communist! It is my duty to liberate the citizens of this village from communism. You want some of that freedom? Yeah, I got it for you. Catch it. Ah, somebody told me that's the wrong story. Shit. In all seriousness, the story is the following. We incarnate Ethan again, 3 years after the event of Resident Evil 7. He moved out somewhere in Europe with his wife Mia, and now he has a daughter. One night, when he was having dinner with his wife gets shot in the head, and Chris Redfield appears out of nowhere, and he say, "I'm sorry, Ethan," before kidnapping him and his daughter. And then in the next instance, he wakes up in the middle of a snowy forest, and it's dark. And then, wait a minute.
Where the
The landscape,
hell am I?
the architecture of the village, vampire, werewolves. Some of the names, the food, and even the name of the currency we are training with? Are we in Romania? Holy shit, this changed everything! They should have named this game Resident Evil 8 Welcome to Romania! Or Romania Editions! I mean, Romania on its own is already spooky with its bad infrastructure. And now they're adding zombies to it? Well, that's double the scare, I guess. After exploring the village and on your way to the castle, you get kidnapped again by Mr. I don't know how to cook man. Then you get an introduction to all the 4 lords with their chief, and it turns out that each lord has a piece of your daughter. I mean, that's really weird. What are you going to do with a bunch of legs? You know what? I don't want to know. And that's it. I will not go any further in the story because that would be spoilers. Okay, now that I'm done with the story, let me check my notes for what's next and... The graphics? I don't remember writing this down. Well, I'm going to skip this because I don't really care about the graphics in a video game. I mean, I could play a game in 1 pixel if it's fun. Okay, so now I'm going to skip and... Huh? Okay, I'm going to review shitty graphics. Now you can pull that gun away from me. Happy? Good. Okay, so the graphics are pretty. What, you expect me to expand on it? Well, no. Okay, maybe don't turn on the ray tracing. I've learned the hard way that it consumes a lot of FPS. So don't turn it on if you have a weak PC. Okay, so I'm done with the graphics. Let's off to the gameplay. I'm going to start with the obvious. Resident Evil 8 took inspiration from Resident Evil 4, and it's not even trying to hide it. I mean, there's a merchant. You can upgrade your weapons. You can find treasures and sell them to gain some money. Enemies drops items. The map settings and even the story is kind of similar to Resident Evil 4. A village, a castle, a giant lake with a giant fish monster, and even a parasite that was injected into every villagers. And I'm not trying to say it's a bad thing or they just copy-paste Resident Evil 4 into Resident Evil 8. It's just that it kind of feels less unique. But that's just maybe me. However, they've expanded some things. For example, they've added this wonderful cooking mechanic. Now I can eat the local food while butchering the villagers and their animals. That's great! Jokes on you, at one point in my playthrough, I actually sold all my meat to the fucking merchant. Because I thought I had to do it like this in order to cook. But apparently, my game just forgot to tell me how to cook. So when I discovered the cooking tab in a merchant, I was like, fuck, I can't cook anything now. And the only thing I managed to cook was that special dish that increased your movement speed. So yeah, this kind of sucks. Not being able to cook anything because the game forgot to tell you. Okay, now I'm done with the jokes and I will discuss the crafting system. Instead of being this thing in which you combine two items to create one, in Resident Evil 8, crafting has its own interface. And it uses resources that you can collect by scavenging the map around you or by collecting them from dead enemies. The system is very basic as there's only one item that isn't an explosive or ammunition. I wish they would have given us more choice. You know, maybe like syringes that grants the player a speed, defense, or attack buff. You know, that's just an idea to make it less lackluster. Alpha it is not bad. I have some complaints, and it's the fact that I will never run out of ammo thanks to the crafting system. This problem is more apparent in the late game, as in the early game you don't have a lot of resources. In the late game, however, you do have a lot of resources if you spend your time scavenging through the map. So near the end of the game, I just end up with too much bullets, and even if I do run out of bullets from one weapon, I can just switch to another one and collect a few resources to craft ammunitions. And that's a problem as survival horror games are known for their resource management, and Resident Evil 8 is a survival horror game. So this means you have to be careful on how you spend your resources, but because the game just gives me too much, I don't care on how I spend them. What the game should have done was maybe to reduce the number of ammunitions or resources that you can find by scavenging the map. But hey, maybe that's just me. Because I'm the type of guy that ends up with 99 health potion in your RPG. So I mostly use my knife in your early game to save ammunitions. Okay, I'm done with the crafting system and now I'll give my thoughts on the actual healing mechanic. I think it's kind of a shame that Resident Evil 7 and 8 has just abandoned the herb systems, because I think it was a very ingenious one. Let's say for example that your health is in red and you have this one green herb in your inventory. You have two possibilities. The first one is that you use it so you can take another hit. The other one is that you save it to find a red herb so that you can combine both of them in order to restore all of your health. But in the process you have to be careful to not die, as you are really low on health. I miss this system as it was smart but simple, and you actually had choices to make. But now it's just, oh, my health is in the red, I must use this healing item. Good, my health is in the green now. Yeah, it's just dumb now. I hope they will bring back the herb system in the future games. Okay, I'm done now, after the gunfight, shall we? There's not really a lot I can say, but I can say for sure that it is fun. I like popping the head of my enemies with my sniper rifle or my shotgun. And there is a lot of variety to the weapon. You have a knife, a gun, a shotgun, a sniper rifle, a grenade launcher, a magnum, mines, a pipe bomb, and maybe some other. And there are different variants for a type of weapon. For example, there are 3 different shotguns, and you can each upgrade them. But to be honest, there isn't any reason to use the first shotgun when you have the third one, which is more powerful and shoots faster. I mean, that's kind of a shame. But there's only 4 shortcuts, and with that much weapon, you're bound during fights to spam your inventory key so that you can switch to the one weapon you need. And in my opinion, it interrupts the flow of the fight. I just wish that they would give us more shortcuts than 4. Also, I have another smart complaint, but why does my shotgun deal more damage than my sniper rifle? I understand that with a sniper rifle I can shoot farther, but there is not really any ranged enemies except for the zombies with bows that aren't really a threat in my opinion. And you only see them once or twice during the playthrough, so it's not like they're everywhere. Okay, so I've pretty much said everything I needed to for the gunfight. Now we'll quickly take a look at the bosses. The bosses in this game are average, I would say the least. They're not terrible, but they're not that great. But the one I enjoyed the most was the final boss, and the one that I found the most interesting was Donna's boss fight, if we can even call this a boss fight. But I can say for sure that the most disappointing boss fight for me was the Heisenberg one. Especially because I think he is one of the most interesting villains in this game, and I was excited to fight against him with this makeshift tank. And the boss fight is not that terrible. The first part, when you use the makeshift tank, is, well, it's kind of fun, but it's not that great. But my problem is the second part. The second part starts when you destroy your tank, and that you have to kill him with your regular arsenal. The problem is that there is no clear indication if you're dealing him any damage. I've tried shooting him multiple parts of his body, but there was no blood spilling out, or at best, there would be a spark. Also, is this normal or is my game bugged? Why am I so slow? So after I've died and learned the hard way that I had to start the fight all over, I've decided that I had enough of this bullshit and just used my grenade launcher to destroy him. And it was disappointing.
Impressed? Too bad I'm your only fan. I'll die like the world's watching.
Yeah, this boss fight is just disappointing. Okay, so now I'm done with the gameplay, and the last thing to discuss now is the scare factor. As you know, survival horror games are supposed to be scary. But my experience with Resident Evil 8, well, let's say it wasn't scary. I think it's better if I explain you with a schema. Out of 10 hours, 98% of the time, I wasn't scared, but the other 2% did. 1% came from a jump scare that caught me off guard. And the other one is from Donna's basement, with that giant ugly baby monster. Before I realized that you could easily hide away from him. Yeah, I think the game is secretly trying to tell me that I must hide away from my problems. I don't see any other explanation. Okay, so before I finish, I would like to mention quickly Lettre de Medisco, aka the lady that took every pawn side by surprise. Well, she's one of the most unique enemies in the game, as she's the only one that can patrol an area, and in this case she's patrolling the castle. And I believe she's invincible, at least until our boss fight. So she's kind of a clone of Mr. X, except she's more annoying than scary.
Cassandra? Cassandra? No! How much blood and sweat do you think it took to raise those daughters? You have incurred an impossible debt!
Well, you were the one attacking me first, so what I did was simply just self-defense, bitch. The problem is the castle is too tiny, so you can't really rotate well, unless you've unlocked all the rooms. Unlike the police department map in Resident Evil 2. I'm actually amazed that they've managed to create an enemy more annoying than Mr. X from the remaster of Resident Evil 2. I believe they did this to scare and create tension for the more casual players. But for a more experienced player like me, it just feels more annoying when Lady Dimitrescu comes to interrupt me from minding my own business in the castle. In other words, she and her daughters are just a bunch of Chinese clones from Mr. X. Overall, Resident Evil 8 isn't really scary, and that's a shame because survival horror games are supposed to be scary. But, I mean, most of us play Resident Evil games not to be scared, but just to shoot at zombies. Anyway. In conclusion, Resident Evil 8 is an okay game, but in my opinion, it definitely doesn't deserve my €60. So that's why I bought it when it was on sale. and I felt it was more of a generic FPS rather than a survival horror game. I hope Capcom will reconsider the direction they're taking with the future of the series. Let's hope we don't end up with another Resident Evil 6.